All right, welcome back, one of Ninders. It is me, your host, Lizette. So before I get into anything real quick, I just want to give a huge shout out to those people who have blindly followed me on this journey of me having my own podcast. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a longest time, and I finally built up the courage to do so. So with that being said, thank you. I hope and I pray that going forward, I will only, gain more followers, true followers, those that are just wanting to know what I have to say and follow along on this journey, on this mysterious journey, I would say, because anything that is new to someone, it's a mysterious journey. You never know what's gonna happen. You never know what's gonna be on the other side of that door. Only way to find out is to do so. Jump in and do it. So, huge shout out to those people who have followed me since day one, and like I said, blindly just joined on the bandwagon, I would say. So that being said, um I've had a few weeks to just let a few things sink in, as far as the previous episodes, positive feedback that I've been getting, constructive criticism, which I dearly, dearly, dearly appreciate. To those people who actually took the time to watch my podcast and the episodes and those clips and actually tell me like, hey, don't do this, don't do that. I think this should happen. I think you should take this out. So a huge shout out and a huge thank you to those people who actually took that time out and watched me and a few of my guests do our thing. So going forward, I do plan on correcting those. I haven't had any new content because I've just been so caught up, so busy, just lifing. I'm in my final weeks of my fall semester for my third year at UCF. So I have one more semester, and then I'm going to be a senior, and then hopefully everything goes well after that. I have been doing very well in school, just because I was able to remove myself from certain things. Like I haven't been doing anything as far as like nightlife, social life. I've been cutting back on those things just so that I can concentrate and focus on my education, which is I decided to this semester I decided to do a hybrid. So I have half my classes are in person, half my classes are online. Just because I did my associates online, and I think after that you have to slowly start integrating yourself into the actual college life, which is where a lot of your networking comes in. You get to meet a lot of new people. You get to do a lot of I guess social activities, campus life that you don't have the luxury of doing when you're doing online classes. So I think this is important and a big step in my career. Um, as well as I started a new job. Yes, I'm still a flight attendant. I still do that, but I took a leave of absence so that I can have a little bit more stability. It's hard being a flight attendant when you're a single mom and you have no one to help you as far as, when you do go away, who stays with your kid? Like that's an important question when it comes to that. So, um, I did take a leave of absence. I started a new job with the city of Orlando, um, which it's hard finding a job when you're a single mom and you have to drop off your kid and pick him up. I don't know how people do it. I'm just now getting the hang of it. I don't have a specific routine. I just go with each day as it comes, and it's hard. So if there's any single parents out there doing that, man, it's hard, and big ups to you because it's something that'll make you pull your hair out. With that being said, yeah, I haven't created any content in a while. So thank you for being patient with me. Thank you for those people who haven't unfollowed me just because I haven't created any content or any communication. I promise you guys, there's more to come. I did have a little hiccup with a previous episode that I did film. Once we were done, and it was about an hour and a half of good content, man. It was so good. And then we figured out we had audio problems. So now it's just a matter of getting that guest back on the show, and just, luckily he's reluctant to come back. And so thank you, shout out to him. But yeah, it's been a tough 4 weeks, just trying to juggle everything, the new job, school. Luckily the semester is coming to an end, I think, in less than a month. The beginning of December is going to be final exams for the semester. So, oh man. Um so yeah, just a little bit about myself. I usually tend to keep to myself when it comes to my private life, because at the end of the day, nobody wants to hear that unless you're like a celebrity and everybody's like, "Oh, tell me more, tell me more. What's the gossip? What's the juice? What's the tea? Spill it." Uh, but no, the reason I named my podcast One of Nine is because I am one of nine. My dad has nine kids that we know of. Um, and I am number six in the lineup. If I yeah, number six in the lineup. Um, and it wasn't always like that. So for me, it's always been just me and my brother Mitch, which was my guest on the second episode of my podcast. Because obviously we're from the same mom and dad. So to me, it's always been him. And then I did know I had a half sister named Elizabeth growing up. So it would be the normal, like me and Mitch, me and Mitch, me and Mitch, and then Elizabeth would drop by once in a while. So I knew of her, whatever. We had a nice relationship. Um, what else? Yeah, which is weird because her name is Elizabeth. So is my mom's. I want to know what's the story behind that. I never really asked. I guess I didn't want to ruffle any feathers, but yeah, her name is Elizabeth. So is my mom's. And it was just like maybe perfect timing. That can't be a coincidence. But anyways, we'll touch base on that later on. So yeah, I'm one of nine, and I don't really talk about my past or my life that much. But I think the defining point in me meeting a lot of my siblings has to do around the age of 17, 18, 16, 17, 18. My mom, she's always like, "Oh, tell your story." And I'm like, I never want to tell my story because I don't want people to have pity on me. I don't want people to have pity on me. And I also just don't like sharing it because nowadays people think that everything is done for clout or whatever the case is. So whoever knows me from back then knows what I went through. But like a lot of my friends that I've made over the years don't know this situation. I don't even think I ever spoke to my daughter about this because this is just something that I never speak about. It's just one of those things where I gained experience from it, and that's it. What's done is done. So I was sophomore year of high school, and I started getting these nodes in my neck, and at first it was just like, oh, it's gonna go down, whatever. So then I started telling my mom, I was like, Mom, they're growing, so like it's weird, it's weird feeling, whatever. And then I started kind of feeling fatigue as well. I couldn't run as much as I used to. I like without running out of breath. So then my mom was like, "Oh, if it continues to grow, we're gonna have to take it to the doctor." I was like, "Okay, whatever. It's gonna go down." Never gave it much thought. Well, it didn't. Kept increasing, kept growing actually. And then she took me to the doctor, and they were like, that's weird. The same things, routines, like going back. Like, hey, do you feel this? Has anything changed? Has your appetite changed? My appetite did change. I was eating less. I started to slowly lose weight, and I've always been tall. I've always been thin, but I was getting drastically like a lot thinner. So we kept going, and then we're like, oh, we're gonna have to do a biopsy. So biopsy is pretty much when they you know cut you. It's not so much like a operation where they have to like, have all your guts out and stuff like that. So they pretty much wherever the objective area is, they'll slice you there, and then they'll take out whatever they need to take out so that they can test on it. So they did that, and then they didn't find anything. So they were like, "Oh, we're gonna do some more tests." My mom just got pretty much she got fed up with that, and she was like, "No, you guys are just trying to cut my baby open. She's not a guinea pig. She's not, she's not something you could just study and cut open whenever you want." So she started, the sisters, her sisters started coming together like, "Oh, well, maybe you should send her here to the Dominican Republic where maybe they can find something like that." And my mom was like a little bit, iffy about it. So she ended up just giving in and sending me over, which till this day, hands down, I kiss the feet, I kissed the ground my aunts walk on, because they dropped everything they were doing and they just all came together like the fucking Powerpuff Sisters or whatever, and they just like they took care of me. And they immediately, as soon as I got there, they took me to this doctor, and they did another biopsy on the other side of my neck. So I have, if you know me and you're ever up close to me, I have two incisions, kind of right above my collarbone. Um, and that's where the other incision was made, the other biopsy. And they actually discovered that I had, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So that's a type of cancer. And for like a 16, 17-year-old, that's like your mind just goes, like you just, like shit, cancer, the big C word, cancer. Like, fuck, am I gonna die? Like, am I gonna, like, so till this day, sometimes I try to go back and I try to remember certain things and I can't. I can't, like, I could just remember the big parts that happened while I was going through this. And I think it's like some type of defense mechanism of the brain, of the memory. I don't know, but there's certain aspects of it I cannot remember. I just remember like the big parts. And it's just, 16, 17-year-old, you're at that point in your life, or first of all, you're already emotional. You're already like in high school, and you're like, you're plucking me out of my life. Like, that's all you care about. You're like, my friends, high school, like, hello, what the fuck? So it was scary. And then the biggest part of it all was that I was far away from home. I was in the Dominican Republic. I was away from my mom, away from my brother Mitch. And these are like the people, my everyday life people, like my friends. And I was like, okay, how long is this going to take? So they're like, oh, we don't know. We got to do all these exams. We got to do this. We got to do that. Um, like I said, a lot of it was vague to me, but the clear memories that I have are painful. Like they needed to do more tests to see, um, if the cancer had gone anywhere, further apart from where they could see, like any deeper into my body. So the hardest, oh my god, the most scariest one was, to see if it had reached the bone, like the bone marrow, um, exam. Oh my god, that shit was painful, bro. And I don't wish this upon anybody, even my worst enemy. So they go to like the most exterior bone, meaning like the easiest bone to reach, not the elbow or the knee, because that's like, you know, you can't drill into them. So they cut, they made a little incision on my right hip, and they numbed the skin, but that's as much as they can numb. Um, and then they start to drill into the bone. So just imagine like a drill just straight into your bone, and the little sawdust that comes up from them drilling the bone, that's what they scoop up, and that's what they test to see if the cancer has reached your bone. It's again, that's like I still have the scar. And oh my god, it was so painful. It was like that same feeling of like when somebody's scratching their nail on a chalkboard, but on like it's just I'm getting chills just remembering it. Another painful thing that they did was, like, I guess a side effect of this type of cancer was that my lungs filled up with liquid, and I would have to go periodically back to the hospital to, like, they would stick a syringe through my skin, in between my ribs and into my lung to extract this liquid so that I can breathe. But at the time of them doing it, it's so painful because they're pulling out liquid, and they're also pulling out, um, air. So it's like you're breathing through a coffee stirrer. That's the closest analogy that I can bring to mind. Like, just make pretend you're running, and instead of taking deep breaths, you are breathing through a coffee stirrer. You feel like you're being suffocated. It was so painful. But throughout this entire journey, I think it brought my mom's family, side together, because each of my aunts and uncles that lived in the Dominican Republic at the time had like a role. Like, my aunt, Cecilia, she was the person, like, she was a professor. Mind you, she had a career. She was a professor. She put her career on hold to take care of me. Whenever I needed to either go back and forth from the US to the Dominican Republic, my aunt Esther, she was the one who like went to go pick me up so that I didn't have to travel. But mind you, I'm fragile. I'm 5'9", and I was weighing like 95 pounds. Um, and it was just, it's a moment in my life that I look back on and I count my blessings every single day. No matter how hard my life gets in today's day, I always look back on that and I was like, you survived that. Like, you lived that. Like, there's nothing in your way right now of doing what you want to do. And it's something that, um, I always like look up to that. And time, life gets frustrating once in a while and you always be like, man, fuck this. I don't want to do this no more. And then you're just like, no, like, you did that when you were a teenager. Now you're an adult full of experience, full of life. Like, now you have something to fight for. So, a lot of the times, well, more times than none, I don't speak about on this or speak about this to anybody. But the one time that I will whip it out my arsenal would be when someone's going through a tough time, and I just try to like just show them that, hey, anything is possible. Like, just put your mind to it. Just walking the ground and waking up every morning. Like, you have so many blessings to count. Like, just be grateful for what you do have instead of being ungrateful for what you don't have. And that's something that that's always been like my go-to, like, get up, keep going. You've been through worse. And once, like, you don't know how low you can go until you've hit rock bottom. So, take from it what you will, but that's just my concept on life. Like, um, once you think you've hit your lowest point, oh, you can go lower. But how you get up from that and what you learn from it, it's like the best experience because now you can, like, that's another chip on your shoulder that you can, you know, you can just be like, yeah, I did that. Put a little pin on your chest and be like, I did that. But anyways, going back to the one of nine, um, when I was like, I would have to go from Bonao, which is where my aunt lived, to the capital, which is where my dad lived. And that's also where I was getting treatment. And I had to get chemo and radiation in the capital. It's called the Plaza La Salud. And that's where they took care of me. Till this day, I still remember the name of the doctor. Her name is Doctora Maria Benzo. She was um, Dominican American and she studied here and then she went back to the Dominican Republic to study her medicine, practice her medicine, I mean. And now actually, like, after I had my daughter, I actually went and I took her to this hospital to see if I can find this doctor to show her, like, look, like, I'm still winning at life. And she's now like the director of the pediatrician oncology section of this hospital. So it just made me very proud. She was, oh my gosh, she was such a sweetheart because she would come to me, she would talk to me in English, and she would be like, it's just me and you here in this room. Say what you need to say. I don't care if it's frustrating. If you have any frustrations in you, let it out. She would let me vent to her, um, and she was just there for me. Like, there were so many parental figures that were substituting in and out in my mother's absence because my mom was in the U.S. She worked for the city of New York. She worked for the MTA, and she was just always working. She was working overtime so that she could pay for my chemo. She was like just emptying out her savings, like this. Yeah, I don't talk about it because I get emotional, but whatever. Moving forward. I had to go to the capital of the Dominican Republic to go get my chemo and radiation. One day, my dad was like, "Hey, I want to tag along." The few times that he did, whatever. So he's like, "I want to tag along." So when he did show up, he shows up with these two little kids, and I'm just like, "Okay, like, this is mad random, whatever." So I'm looking at him. I'm looking at well, at the time I didn't know he was my brother. I'm looking at the little kid, and I'm like, he looks like my dad a lot because he's like dark like my dad. The other little girl wasn't too short because she's white as hell. So I was like, I don't know who these kids are, whatever. So then we sit down and he's like, oh, say hi to them. These are that's your brother, that's your sister. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, that's your sister, Maciel. That's your brother, Felix Jr. I was like, again, what? Up until this point, like, my only siblings were Mitch and Elizabeth. My mind was like mind blown. I was like, oh my God. So then I was like, hi. I was like, where were these kids when I wanted to be a big sister? Mind you, I thought that I was the youngest all this time. I was like, I've for so long I wanted to be like a bigger sister. I wanted to, and I was just like, whatever. Anyway, so then we leave there. We were at Pizza Hut or whatever. We left and then we go back to his apartment. We get there. His wife is there. I meet his wife at the time. And then he brings out another fucking baby. And this baby is my younger sister now. She's like 16, 17. She's like, oh, this is Valerie. Meet your other sister. I was like, okay, what the fuck? All right. Like, I'm waiting for like Punk to come out and be like, hey, just kidding. I was like, oh my God. I was like, okay. Like now she was like 6 months at the time. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like from 1 minute to the next, I go from having two siblings to now having three more. I'm like, okay, whatever. So time passes, I finished my treatment. Finished my radiation. I had 12 cycles of chemotherapy and I had, 31 days of radiation, like back to back to back. It was like every day without missing one. And then once I was done, it was like maybe a year and a half later, I came back. Um, I'm already like 17 going on 18. I think it was like a few months from turning 18. Um, my dad, something happened. My dad was like, oh, there's a barbecue here in Corona. Come over. Oh my God. I met three more siblings. These are now grown folks. Like I met Christian, Steven, and Lucia at this point. I was just like, bruh, what is going on? De la noche a la mañana, I was like, oh my God, there's nine of us? Are you shitting me? Um, yeah, it was like just insane. And it was just insane, to meet all these, and then like within 2 years, I found out that there wasn't three of us, there's nine of us. So I think that was like a big, like mind blowing experience for me. Till this day, we haven't all nine been under the same roof, and I think that's given you know it has a lot to do with we never, since we met so late in our lives, and the history behind before we were born. I'm pretty sure there was some animosity between our parents or our moms or whatever, that caused this wedge between us meeting earlier. And it was just one of those things where you never really, like the saying, you can't really miss something you never had. So like is you can't say like, oh man, I want to spend time with them, because you don't naturally um want it. Like it's just something that with time you have to warm up to each other. I think even till this day it's just been a little awkward. Like the relationship I have with Mitch and the relationship I have with my other siblings, it's a little awkward. There's still some eggshells that you don't want to step on, and there's still some subjects that are like stepping on thin ice. So it's always been like a weird subject. And like I said, I think the most that we've all been under the same roof, I think, has been six, and it was when Giselle turned 1 years old. And it's apart from that, there hasn't been any, like that's the most we've all been in under one roof, the six of us. And it was the oldest six, so it's just weird. And but yeah, it's I don't know. I have a closer bond with Mitch, obviously, but after Mitch, it would be with Maciel and with Junior. I feel like because they're my immediate younger siblings, because Junior's right after me, and then Maciel's right after him. Because they're right after me, I have a closer bond with them. And then after them, the next person would be my brother Christian, which is like right above me. He's right before me. He's 2 years older than me, and then Junior's like maybe, I think, 5 years younger than me. No, how old is he? I think he's about 8 years younger than me, because my nephew is actually 5 years younger than me. So, yeah. And then that's another thing we have. Like my nephew Andrew, he's older than the last three uh kids. So he's older than Junior, Maciel, and Valerie, because he's 28. So there's a lot of things here and there that are just rocky. And hopefully with time, like right now, there's a few of us that are not on speaking terms. Who knows if that'll ever change? But like I said before, since you never really had that want to be in the same room from the beginning, um, there's kind of no urge or no sense of urgency to kind of speed up the healing process. Like it's just like it's whatever. Like if we don't ever talk again, it's okay because um like I didn't have you at the beginning of my life anyway. So it's a fucked up way to think about it, but I feel like that's how I feel. Um and maybe that's how my other siblings feel when, with their situations on the other siblings. It's like, like with Mitch, like we'll fight and then like the next day it's like, hey, good morning. Like, it's like not that we take each other for granted, but it's more of I can tell you to go fuck off and you will be like, okay, cool off. Tomorrow's a new day. We have that relationship where it's not easily damaged, or you can, you feel like you have to repair it. Um, but yeah, and it's, throughout these little episodes, I wish to open up more, and just share my story. Maybe somebody resonates with my story, and maybe they'll have, that same mentality or same feeling, same emotions where they can relate to me, relate to my experiences, and just know that it'll be okay. Like you're gonna be okay. And another thing I did want to add, when I was going through my chemo and radiation, they were like, it's a strong possibility that I will not be able to reproduce because of what I went through. And the fact that I stare into the how can I put it, into defiance of that diagnosis every day, and see Giselle growing into this beautiful young lady. She's 11 years old now, and the fact that I was told, hey, you might not be able to reproduce because of this, it's like anything is possible. Like it's and Giselle came at a point in my time where I was like really struggling mentally, not mentally, like you know what I mean, like I was emotionally and stuff like that, cuz I was having problems readjusting, to life and stuff like that. So she came at a point in my life where it was like I feel like she was a reward for what I had gone through. And I look at her to this day and I still say it. I was like, you're a walking blessing. Like the fact that I was able to have such a, beautiful gift. Um, there's no other way I can explain it other than beautiful gift. But yeah, whatever you're going through, just know that there's more at the end of that tunnel, and there's life. Even when you think that you've hit rock bottom, um, trust me, just get back up and keep fighting, because there's a lot more in your future. And yeah, just thank you. And since Thanksgiving is right around the corner, I decided to listen to my mom and share my story. And just give thanks for everything that I do have. And thank you for listening. And don't forget to subscribe. Again, I can't be um any more grateful for those who have joined me on this journey. And just thank you from the bottom of my heart. Please keep following. Please share. Please subscribe. Um, I just hope to share my story one little episode at a time. And, I need you guys for that. So thank you. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, One of Nine Podcast, and join me on Instagram. Love you guys. One of Niners. Bye. Thank you for watching. See you guys next time. In the meantime, subscribe to my YouTube channel. The link is in my Instagram bio. Also, my Instagram handle is up top there. Drop a comment, show some love, share. Do whatever it is you do, but just keep on doing it. Thank you.